In the silence that followed Jungkook's cryptic revelation, something hung in the air, something unspoken, electric, and deeply unsettling. Viewers across the globe, whether seasoned armies or casual fans, found themselves replaying the clip, searching for clues not only in what was said but in what wasn't. Taehyung's face, normally a canvas of expressions, was unreadable. His eyes didn't flinch, his mouth didn't move, and yet the silence screamed louder than any confession. What could be so powerful, so personal, that it would render one of the most expressive idols mute? This isn't the first time Jungkook has stirred global headlines with a statement that seemed casual on the surface, but turned into a phenomenon. But what sets this moment apart is the eerie quiet that followed. It wasn't planned, it wasn't scripted, and that's what made it real. Live, raw, and unsanitized. As speculation spreads like wildfire across forums and fan sites, theories began to emerge, not just from fans but from cultural commentators, body language experts, and even media scholars. Was this the start of a solo divergence? A foreshadowing of an artistic shift? Or perhaps a deeply personal truth that had been buried for years? Every frame was dissected. The way Jungkook's hand trembled slightly, the micro-expression that flashed across Taehyung's face and vanished just as quickly. One could almost feel the weight of the moment pressing down like a storm cloud on the verge of breaking. It's important to understand the emotional geography here. BTS isn't just a music group, they are cultural architects. Their influence extends beyond charts and streams. It reshapes identity, creates communities, and redefines masculinity for a new generation. So when Jungkook opens a door into a room previously unseen, the world doesn't just peek in, it leans in, holds its breath, and begins to question everything it thought it knew, and the silence. That's what makes it brilliant. Taehyung's decision not to speak is more provocative than any carefully worded PR statement could ever be. Because in that void, fans project. Is he protecting Jungkook from a backlash that might come? Is he wrestling with his own part in the revelation? Or is he, perhaps, planning his own moment of truth? No answer is given, and that's the exact fuel the fandom runs on. This is the paradox of celebrity transparency in the age of social media. We demand authenticity, but when it arrives, raw and unvarnished, it unnerves us. We expect idols to be polished, but we crave cracks in the surface, moments where we glimpse the vulnerable human beneath the glittering facade. And in that single second of stillness, Taehyung gave us exactly that, without saying a word. Meanwhile, the media frenzy intensifies. Headlines are multiplying, each one more speculative than the last. Jungkook shocks fans. Is this the end of OT7? Taehyung's silence speaks louder than words. What is he hiding? Articles dissect the timeline, fans compare old interviews, and every recent Weverse post is reinterpreted through the lens of this new, ambiguous context. But amid all the noise, something else is happening. Something deeper, quieter, more emotionally significant. Fans are not just guessing what happened. They're feeling it. They're connecting to the discomfort, the tension, the mystery of the moment. And in doing so, they're realizing something profound. Perhaps the bond between Jungkook and Taehyung is not perfect, not unbreakable, but real, flawed, and alive. That revelation, even more than the unknown words Jungkook spoke, might be what makes this moment unforgettable. And still, no statement has been released. No clarification has been offered. Big hit entertainment, ever the masters of calculated silence, remain tight-lipped. Some believe this is by design, a deliberate ambiguity meant to heighten intrigue ahead of an announcement. Others suspect a deeper issue, a fracture behind the scenes that no press release can gloss over. Whatever the truth is, one thing is certain: the world is watching. Not just fans, but industry executives, cultural critics, and rival idols. They're watching because they know that when BTS moves, even in silence, the earth shakes in the coming days. More pieces may fall into place. Perhaps there will be an Instagram post, a subtle lyric dropped in a future track, a brief but telling remark during a live stream. Or perhaps this moment will remain suspended in time, unresolved, unforgettable, a flash of lightning that illuminates everything for a second and then vanishes, leaving only questions behind. And isn't that the essence of great storytelling? Because whether this was a confession of fear, a buried creative disagreement, or a prelude to a new chapter, it's already done something remarkable. It's made us stop, lean in, and feel. And in the hyper-curated, hyper-marketed world of modern entertainment, that kind of unscripted moment is worth more than any choreographed performance. Still, the question lingers like smoke after a fire. Why did Jungkook choose that moment to speak, and why did Taehyung choose silence? The answer might be days away, or we may never get one. But until then, this is the moment that everyone, fan or not, will be talking about. And whether it ends in tears, triumph, or transformation, it's a story we'll be telling for years to come. The silence still echoes. Days have passed, and yet the question remains unanswered. Why did Jungkook reveal something so seismic, so emotionally weighted, and yet Taehyung, his closest companion through years of fame, pressure, and brotherhood, said nothing? It's not just a silence anymore. It's a statement. A story. The world has grown impatient. ARMY is no longer just speculating. They're investigating. Threads on Twitter, or rather, X as it's now known, are exploding with timelines. Fan accounts are analyzing past live broadcasts, hunting for foreshadowing in old interactions. One particular clip from 2021 has gone viral again, showing Jungkook and Taehyung in a seemingly minor disagreement during a behind-the-scenes video. Back then, it was dismissed as playful tension. Now, it's being rewatched with new eyes. Was this the beginning of a rift? Or is it simply the natural evolution of two people who've grown up under the world's microscope? More intriguing is how the rest of BTS has responded, or not responded. RM, always the diplomat, posted a vague caption on Instagram. Sometimes the truth comes without a sound. Fans flooded the comments, asking if this was a veiled reference. Jin, recently back from his military service, has kept his usual cheerful updates, but even that has stirred suspicion. Is he deliberately distracting fans from what's really going on? And Suga? Silent. Completely. Even during his recent radio appearance, he avoided any mention of Jungkook or V. The silence now stretches beyond Taehyung. It's engulfing the group, which only amplifies the original question. What was said? Why was it said? And why does it seem like no one wants to talk about it? Yet amid this storm, something else is emerging. A deeper truth, not about scandal, but about growth. Because what if this moment isn't a fracture, but a transformation? Jungkook has always been the golden magne. The youngest, the most versatile, the endlessly talented member who shined in every spotlight. But lately, he's been stepping into something more personal. His solo ventures, his raw lyrics, even the slight shift in his fashion, all signal a man stepping out of the myth and into his own skin. And what if this revelation, this emotional explosion, was part of that journey? What if Jungkook wasn't just revealing a secret, but shedding a layer? That would explain the weight in his voice, the deliberate choice to speak it live. That would explain the risk. And it would explain Taehyung's silence, not as coldness, but as understanding, a kind of quiet solidarity. You speak, I'll hold the space. Still, it's only a theory. The emotional toll on fans is undeniable. Fan art has taken a dramatic turn. Paintings of Taehyung with sealed lips, Jungkook in mid-shout, shadowed by confusion. One piece went viral on Instagram, showing Jungkook with wings breaking off mid-flight. The caption read, "He finally flew, but the cost was his brother's silence." It's not just art, it's poetry. Its dance covers choreographed to songs about betrayal, about silence, about longing. Fan-created music videos are emerging with haunting edits of that exact moment. The fandom, as always, turns pain into creation, but underneath the heartbreak lies a more pressing fear. BTS falling apart. It's a question no one wants to ask out loud, but it's there, hiding beneath every post, every speculative theory, every rewatch of that clip. Because BTS is more than a group. It's a promise of unity, of resilience, of love that transcends even the fame they never asked for. And now, that promise feels fragile, not broken, but tested. Yet maybe that's the point. Maybe this isn't the end of a story, but the moment it turns. Because here's the truth that no one's saying. The strongest relationships aren't the ones that never crack. They're the ones that crack and hold, that bend, and come back stronger. And maybe that's exactly what this moment is. The tension before the breakthrough, the silence before the song. And still, no one knows what Jungkook said. No full transcript. No clean recording. The original video was mysteriously taken down just hours after going viral. A reposted clip has grainy audio, layered with screaming fans. The only decipherable word? Truth. Just that. One word, and the camera cuts to Taehyung. He doesn't blink. Doesn't shift. Just listens. As if he already knew. And if he already knew, then maybe this moment isn't betrayal. Maybe it's bravery. Maybe Jungkook wasn't exposing a secret, but freeing it. Maybe Taehyung didn't stay silent because he didn't care, but because he cared too much to speak. What happens next? The world waits. Will Taehyung respond? Will Jungkook elaborate? Or will they both step back, allowing the silence to evolve into something else? A music drop? A joint live stream? A documentary? Maybe this is the beginning of something deeper than a drama. Maybe it's the start of two artists choosing to evolve, not in opposition, but in parallel. Whatever it is, it's working. The numbers prove it. Search trends have spiked. YouTube algorithms are flooded. TikTok has thousands of new edits. Spotify streams of old taekook duets have doubled overnight. This moment, however confusing, however painful, is magnetic because it's real. And in an industry built on image, nothing is more powerful than truth. Even when it's spoken in a whisper, even when it comes wrapped in silence, the world is still spinning, but for fans of BTS, time feels suspended. Frozen in the exact frame when Jungkook dropped his mysterious truth, and Taehyung, the ever-articulate soul of the group, chose silence over speech. And it wasn't just silence, it was loaded. It was deafening. It was personal. And now that moment, like a drop of ink in water, has spread. Newsrooms, fan forums, TikTok theorists, and international headlines have all taken this one moment, less than 10 seconds, and turned it into a cultural phenomenon. But there's one thing no one is saying out loud, though everyone feels it burning underneath the surface. What if this wasn't a spontaneous slip, but a deliberate move? There's a theory now gaining traction, not just among ARMY, but even among K-pop journalists who followed BTS from their big hit trainee days. The idea? That this moment, this silence, this rift, is the start of something big, monumental, something so tightly guarded, so masterfully planned, that we've all walked right into it without knowing we were meant to, because that's the genius of BTS. They don't just make music, they craft eras. Each comeback isn't just an album, it's a message, a story arc. And sometimes, the best way to start a story is with a mystery. Let's go back a little. Remember the Wings era? When subtle symbols hinted at inner conflict, personal demons, and the pain of growth. Back then, fans had to decode videos, lyrics, and visual metaphors just to understand the emotional landscape the boys were traversing. And when it all came together, when the truth finally dropped, it was devastating, liberating, and breathtaking. Could this be the same? The timing is suspicious. Taehyung has been dropping cryptic photos lately, foggy landscapes, blurry self-portraits, captions like, "Distance teaches clarity." Jungkook, meanwhile, posted a single black screen with one word: processing. Processing what? Fans are connecting the dots. Could it be that this truth Jungkook revealed is part of a larger, orchestrated emotional narrative? Maybe it's the prelude to a joint song, a personal confession told in harmony, not through press releases, but through melody. But what about the silence? That's where the real artistry comes in. Because silence isn't emptiness. It's full of intention. Taehyung's decision not to speak may not be avoidance, it may be design. What if his silence isn't about fear, but about power? What if he's letting Jungkook speak first, choosing not to steal the spotlight, not to dilute the rawness of the moment? And yet, if it's all a plan, If this is all performance, then why does it feel so real? That's the danger and brilliance of blending life and art. It becomes impossible to tell where one ends and the other begins. Fans aren't just viewers anymore, they're participants. They don't just consume content, they feel it. They live inside the emotions. So when Jungkook falters, when V stares into the distance and says nothing, it doesn't just look like a plot point. IT looks like heartbreak. IT feels like love. And that's why people are crying in comment sections, writing essays on Tumblr, creating theory videos at 3 a.m. Because somewhere deep down, every army knows this moment means something. And that meaning, it might be both beautiful and terrifying. Because what if this is the end of an era? Not the end of BTS, not a breakup, but the end of a chapter in which they were always together. What if they're finally preparing us for separation? Not just physical, as with military enlistment, but artistic? What if Jungkook and Taehyung are learning to stand alone? It would make sense they've grown. They've changed. They've experienced the unrelenting weight of global fame together, and now they may need space to breathe, to fall apart in private, to reinvent themselves without the burden of the group identity constantly pressing in on them. But that doesn't mean they've stopped caring. Quite the opposite. The pain in Jungkook's voice, the way it cracked for just a fraction of a second, betrays that. The way Taehyung's eyes didn't meet his. The way he swallowed hard but didn't speak. Those aren't signs of detachment. They're signs of someone who cares so deeply, they're afraid speaking might unravel it all. And maybe that's the most painful truth of all. Sometimes, love doesn't look like a hug or a smile. Sometimes it looks like staying silent when you want to scream. Sometimes it looks like letting the person you love speak, even when every part of you wants to protect them. Still, nothing is confirmed, and maybe it won't be. Maybe the beauty of this moment is that it refuses to be explained. That it's as close as we'll ever get to truly seeing who Jungkook and Taehyung are beneath the music, beneath the fame, beneath the personas, not idols, not performers, just two young men, trying to figure out where they stand in a world that has never let them rest. So what happens now? We wait, and we watch, not because we're looking for drama, but because we care. Because their story, whatever form it takes, is also a reflection of us, of our need for connection, of our fear of change, of our desperate hope that the people we love will always come back, even if they leave for a while. Maybe that's the real truth Jungkook was trying to tell us, and maybe Taehyung's silence wasn't silence at all. Maybe it was love, spoken in the only language deep bonds ever need, quiet understanding.